Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Still no Ciarnan, so I had to get another fill-in guest, and I'm excited. He's been on before. He's on again. We're talking about his team, and they recently fired their coach. If that's not a hint as who it could be, then I don't know what to tell you. James Franklin going to Virginia Tech. Basically official now. Mike Locksley is getting at least a guarantee that he'll be there next year. Our bets last week with Jared, our bets this week with our guest, and a whole lot more shenanigans, so stick around. They're eating the dogs, Ciarnan, in Tuscaloosa.
They're eating the
you
dogs.
know that?
They were
They're
eating
the dogs.
Oh, a meth raccoon.
Yeah.
Just awful. There is nothing good about this. It's the worst possible scenario for the CFP, for the national championship.
Notre Dame is a mid-program with really good marketing.
And the Michigan players are going to look at that, and anybody who's committing to Michigan in the next years will just go, I want to beat them even more. Like, I wanted to beat them when I first came to the school. Recruits are going to see this.
You have, as some fans have put it, a mascot flashing their pop tussie out.
Oh, God, that's going to be part of our intro next year. Oh, shit.
We are back with Kelcey. He's shaking his head no at that last part of our intro. I can guarantee you what that replaced was way worse. So we took something out, put that in to fill the space. But as I said, Kelcey from High Low Sports. Kelcey, how you doing, bud?
Doing good, man. Doing good. I wasn't expecting the Pop Tussie commentary, but I think it's fantastic that made a honorable mention into the show, into the intro. I remember when that came up, when you guys did that last year. I'd never have laughed so hard during an episode.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm gonna take it as a compliment, even though it's just absurdity, which is really what we do here. As I put it, shenanigans with some college football mixed in. But thanks for hopping on. Appreciate it while Ciarnan's off doing his own thing. I don't know if I could say that. So he's just having fun on his tropical vacation. So we're enjoying that for him. His school is making the news, Penn State, for their former coach, James Franklin. It was reported by Pete Thamel that there was very real interest between him and Virginia Tech. And now that deal is being finalized, probably going to be finalized within probably this next week. What were your thoughts on the news that there was interest and the hiring?
Yeah, this makes sense. Obviously, his name, James Franklin, was being batted around a lot of places. It was always really weird to me that he was getting ranked up there with the top of the top SEC and top of the top everywhere else, because he's not that type of coach. He does really well at the mid-level tier, and I'm not saying Penn State is mid-level, but they're not Ohio State, they're not Michigan, they're not Alabama, they're not even LSU to that matter. They're just that next echelon down, and James Franklin fits that perfectly, and that's where Virginia Tech falls. And it felt like that was an absolutely perfect fit for where his skills are. He's not the guy that's going to go in and dominate a conference with multiple dominant teams. He's going to be a guy that can walk into a conference that doesn't have too many dominant teams, the ACC, and lead a team to be semi-dominant, if not a rotational powerhouse in the ACC. And I think that's where he is as a coach, and I think it works perfectly.
Yeah, and we talked about this 2 weeks ago on the show with your co-host DJ when it was first reported. It's a good move. James Franklin is like a Toyota Camry.
Yeah,
Not flashy. You're not going to necessarily get all the ladies with it, but it's reliable. It's going to get you from point A to point B, and it's rarely going to break down. At Penn State, we saw that. He was reliable. He could get you to that 9, maybe 10 win mark. And that was it. That's what he was going to do. And I still think that's what Virginia Tech needs. There's a desire in Blacksburg to become again, you said they don't dominate, or he doesn't dominate, which is fair. He doesn't dominate, but a respectable ACC program, which he will get them to.
Yeah, he'll win recruits. And I think the biggest thing for them, like, there's a lot of good players that come out of that Virginia DMV area, where you're talking, District of Columbia, Maryland, Virginia. A lot of great players end up in the SEC. A lot of great players end up at Ohio State, Michigan. If he can just keep half of those guys that normally leave in state or in the region and go to Blacksburg, I think that's a huge win for what Virginia Tech wants to do. They have money at Virginia Tech. There's a lot of money there. It's a technical school, so if anybody knows anything about the job market, you get a tech job, you get paid pretty well. So they got a lot of boosters with a lot of money, and I think James Franklin knows how to do that. It's just a matter of like, it's really the winning the big one, right? That's always been his big bugaboo. It's just the thing that he can't get over, and so be it. Just hire great staff, bring in great kids. The ACC is a very open conference, and with the new playoff rules, get in as a 12 seed every year, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think 12 seed would be underselling what
probably
in my mind Virginia Tech can do. I do sincerely think there's a few years where we'll look up and Virginia Tech will be a top 4 seed.
Yeah, I could see it. It's unique though with them, right? Like, you don't want to, like, we remember Beamer ball, and then the bring your lunch pail mentality, it kind of disappeared. Like, they still kind of keep it there, but at the end of the day, like, the original Beamer ball was hung its hat on special teams and defense. James Franklin brings a lot of that mentality, but with a more polished offense, which I think is, like, to your point, that's how you win in today's day and age in college football. You have to have that polished offense that's not necessarily perfect, but it's going to keep the ball moving. And as long as you don't fall behind the chains, which is what happened a lot at Penn State, is he kept falling behind the chains because he had a quarterback who was trying to do too much. And it was, hey, that can be fixed though with Virginia Tech schedule, with the ACC schedule. It becomes a lot more winnable than against a Big Ten powerhouse like Penn State.
Yeah, I'm curious if Penn State's. I don't want to knock their quarterbacks because they've had some pretty good quarterbacks, but for lack of a better term, their deficiencies at quarterbacks. I'm curious if that's just the kind of players they've been getting, and they've been all different sort of players, or if it's James Franklin and how he likes to run his offense.
Yeah, it's funny because I liken a lot of Penn State's quarterbacks to the 2000 to 2010, 2012 Alabama quarterbacks, where there was a lot of good quarterbacks, but they weren't great. None of them were like gonna go blow your doors off. Like, AJ McCarron was probably the best one, but to say he was a great quarterback in Alabama is, especially if you consider recent history, is very blowing it out of proportion. But he was a good quarterback. He kept things on pace. Penn State always missed that with James Franklin. It was like Sean Clifford just getting injured, making plays, making mistakes out of nowhere. You got Drew Aller doing a lot of the same things where he's just making boneheaded plays. You wonder what he's thinking. I never think that they were bad quarterbacks per se, but I think they were given maybe too much freedom, where the thing that made AJ McCarron successful was he was hand the ball off, play action pass, hand the ball off, hit a short little dump off. Like, that was what worked. And for Penn State, it was almost too much freedom for quarterbacks like Sean Clifford or even Drew Aller or anybody in between that you want to throw out there. Trace McSorley, take your pick.
Will Levis, who, even though he is known for being a Kentucky guy, I used to call Sean Clifford a poor man's Will Levis. They were the same sort of player. Also, you're giving Alabama a little too much credit. You said 2012. It really ended in 2015. Jake Coker won a national championship with Alabama by handing the ball to Derrick Henry 1,000 times a game. And then we got Jalen Hurts and then Tua. And then that's when the quarterback play started becoming a bit more important to Alabama's success.
Yeah, to be fair, I think everybody wants to forget Jake Coker as a quarterback at Alabama, though.
I loved Jake Coker as a quarterback in Alabama.
I did.
I loved.
Obviously, I did.
Did you not love him, or did you not love Derrick Henry running the ball down your throat 30 times?
All of the above. Honestly, it was mostly Derrick Henry. It was honestly that entire offense. It's like, okay, let's just put any guy. Like, I could have walked in and played quarterback at that Alabama offense and looked like Jay Coker at times, because that offense was so good. And then Derrick Henry's always there for King Henry.
Actually broke down the stats last playoffs because Ohio State fans were annoying me about Will Howard, saying like, oh, this is the greatest quarterback run we've ever seen. His numbers were comparable, obviously in more games. But if you extrapolated Jay Coker's numbers out, he would have had the same run.
Yeah, that's
so.
It's funny because we're so accustomed to like, oh, teams that are winning are great quarterbacks. It's like, no, we've lived through a whole decade of not great quarterbacks winning national championships. There's always like the outlier, like a Cam Newton, a Joe Burrow. Take your pick in there. But there's like, for the most part, there's some pretty mediocre quarterbacks that win national championships.
it's a really good team around. You can't really win with a bad quarterback anymore, but they're fine. I was doing a breakdown of the Georgia-Texas game. Georgia went back-to-back on fine quarterback play. They just dominated Texas on fine quarterback play. That's what you're going to see more often than not. The quarterback's just good enough to not mess it up for you, which, back to James Franklin, the quarterbacks were good, but not good enough to not mess it up. And yeah, so I'm curious to see if we'll see if that translates to Virginia Tech. If it was a James Franklin issue or just Penn State issue. My other question though with this move is who gets Keegan Michael Key in the divorce? He a Penn State guy, but you can impersonate James Franklin so well, like you got to keep it going.
I think this is going to be an emotional, like, I think he's going to have a divorce video release here. I think we're going to have to see that. Like, he's going to have to divorce James Franklin's persona. Maybe give it to Pill and see if Pill can pull it off, if Jordan Pill can pull this one off. As an older James Franklin at a much less, I don't want to say blue light special version of Keegan Michael Key, but, it might have to be that way.
That's fair. Yeah, it's a lot of crazy things going on. But speaking of, we just talked about Jay Coker a lot, Alabama a lot. Former Alabama offensive coordinator Lane Kiffin is in the news, not for something he did for once, but for something Ole Miss did. Allegedly, Ole Miss gave Lane Kiffin a November 28th deadline to tell them if he is staying or leaving. That is the Egg Bowl. Lane Kiffin has since come out and denied that, said it never happened. We're going to operate as if it did because that gives us something to talk about and makes this a lot more fun. Yeah. This is the Joey Freshwater experience. Ole Miss knew this going in. He was always going to be looking for that next job. He's always going to be, maybe not for the money, but for the prestige. He's trying to win. I think this is just Ole Miss regretting their choices.
Yeah, this is Ole Miss being Ole Miss, right? This is the biggest tailgate on earth, or on football earth, that celebrates every Saturday, and they just happen to have a football game right afterwards. No, it's I always find this funny, right? Like Lane Kiffin, you know what to expect. Lane Kiffin was the same under Nick Saban as he was anywhere else, and if that tells you anything, he's the only coach to ever be the same with Nick Saban and without Nick Saban, and so that's like Lane's claim to fame. But yeah, I don't know if this is regret, but it makes it interesting, right? Like, where do you go after Ole Miss? And it's not because I'm not saying like Ole Miss is great, but realistically, look at the jobs that are open. Like, where does he go that could be better, that will pay you more or give you the same type of quality talent? I don't know if there's very many locations open that he hasn't already burned a bridge for.
Yeah, I think I'm curious where you rank Ole Miss in including them and all the job openings. Where would you rank them in the SEC specifically?
Oh, in the SEC, I think it's the best job in the SEC. I think Ole Miss right now is the best job in the SEC because of the talent you've had rolling in, but also because of in the world of the NIL, there's only one school in the SEC that I can say I would feel more comfortable with saying they have a better NIL contract, which is Florida. But I also look at Florida as like I don't know if Lane Kiffin wants to step down to rebuild a Florida, I think is the bigger thing. Like, he doesn't have to rebuild Ole Miss. He has to rebuild a Florida, though. And that's a big question.
I feel like, though, in modern college football, a rebuild you can get done in a year, 2 years. And with Ole Miss, the talent rolling in, yeah, they do get a bunch of talent. Is that because of Lane Kiffin as the recruiter, or is that because it's Ole Miss? As Ed Orgeron put it, at Florida, you can hop in a Tahoe, drive half an hour away from campus, and just hit a 5-star with a rock. So I'm curious about that. LSU famously stole money from a children's hospital to pay their players, so they'll find a way to get you the funds. I would, and this is partially biased, I would probably rank Ole Miss third. If all jobs were open, I would probably look Florida or LSU first, then Ole Miss, then Auburn.
Yeah, I honestly, Auburn's last in this category. I just patently last. Even if Arkansas comes open, Auburn is still last. Let me be very clear as the Auburn guy. Like, it is anybody going into Auburn, good luck, because you have to deal with boosters that are idiots, and good luck with that. But yeah, I think for Lane, I think his ranking for the SEC is where I'm kind of going off of. If I'm ranking it for Lane specifically, I kick LSU out. I think him and LSU would never work. That's just like a place, given his Alabama ties, given his Tennessee ties, giving that all the things he said about LSU, I don't think that'll ever work. But if he goes there, he knows how to recruit those LSU boys that we all know turn teams into powerhouses quickly. If you count the number of players that come from that New Orleans, Freeport area in the SEC that are on powerhouse rosters like Alabama, Georgia, and beyond, it's an insane number that are quality players and that even end up in NFL, wearing the NFL colors. Like, it's impressive. In Mississippi, it's a lot of linemen that you can pull. In Florida, it's a lot of skill players. They miss out on the linemen, but in Louisiana would be like that place that excels on all of them. But I think Lane has kind of burned the bridge with LSU. And I don't know if like the fans would be okay with Lane Kiffin coming in the door. But then again, fair weather fans, just like NIL money nowadays, maybe that ruins it. But I think he's burned the bridge too much with LSU to go there. I think Florida might be an option. It just doesn't feel like he wants to go and rebuild. He just wants to go in somewhere and win. And what I mean more or less, it's less like the players rebuilding in Florida. You get talent. It's you have to rebuild that culture of Florida, right? The Gators culture is a culture. The Swamp is a culture. You don't just go there and piddle fart your way to a championship. You have to go there and create a culture in Florida. He's already got a culture at Ole Miss. It's a party culture. It's an exciting culture. It's fun. LSU is not where he would like to go to have fun. Like, they've shut down so many coaches for being fun, quote unquote, coaches. I mean, after Brian Kelly, it's like a sterilized hospital out there. Still smells like corn dogs though. But yeah, I don't know. I think for him it's different. But if you're just ranking him purely, LSU. I think LSU Florida goes top 2. Ole Miss would be 3, and then after that, like, fill it away, and then down to the bottom is Auburn.
I would say Auburn and Arkansas, I think, are a little closer than.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of people have them ranked very far apart, but whichever one's ahead of the other would just depend on personal preference. I think they're a lot closer than you are. Just like I think the top 3 schools we've talked about are a lot closer in terms of pedigree and desire to be good. Ole Miss, 3 claimed natties. Florida, 3 claimed. LSU, 4. Now, Florida's are all from 96 onward. Ole Miss's 3 are from 59, 16, 62. So recent history, no, but there is that history there, that desire. And I am not advocating for Lane to leave. I do think Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, weirdly, is a match made in heaven. They'll give him the resources he needs and he wants. The uniforms are really cool, which I think fits with Lane, who he is, what he likes to do. And they seem to just, not in a bad way, but they seem just to kind of let him do what he wants, except flirt with other schools.
I also think part of this, like, would he go to LSU to go coach his daughter's boyfriend? Like, does that come into play at all in this conversation? Like,
he would go to make Whit Weeks' life hell.
I was like, that's seems like a very revenge. Oh, we're back. All right.
Yeah, might have lost you there for a second. So,
yeah, no, I was just saying if he goes to LSU, it's purely just to go pick on a guy, give him hell for 2 years, and walk away. Like, he's not going there to win a championship. That's just petty moments. So,
no.
That's why that one for me for Lane, I'm just like, not there yet.
That's fair. But with all these coaching changes going on, who do you think is the next domino to fall? Not in terms of firing. We've seen a lot of firings. Who's the next coach hired, and where do you think they end up?
Yeah, as much as I hate it, I already mentioned him. He sterilizes every place he goes to and ruins it. I think it's Brian Kelly just because of his name. For whatever reason, his name carries value. He's not been a good coach for almost a decade now. He's been an okay coach who has great talent, but he's never been a good coach. And I think he still carries the pedigree. You know, pedigree matters when it comes to appeasing boosters. Everybody wants a winning coach, quote unquote. And yeah, I have a hard time thinking there's anybody that's going to usurp him. There's some guys I think that are currently coaching teams that could be available that could move up. But I think for like as a free agent coach right now, looking for a place, it feels like Brian Kelly is that guy that's going to be the next one to really get hired.
I don't hate it. I do think Brian Kelly does have a little too much baggage that fans can kind of tug on if they don't like the hire because he can't win a big games. Sort of like what you saw with Greg Schiano at Tennessee, or what you saw with Brian Harsin after he was already at Auburn. Although
Yeah.
that was all fabricated drama, but
Yeah.
baggage they could pull on. If a school hires him and people don't like that hire, you'll see comments, graffiti about scissor lifts and all that. The fake accent will be floating around. People will be protesting outside the president's house on campus. I like the idea of Ed Orgeron going to Oregon State still. I just want
Mm.
Orgeron State to be a thing. But I weirdly, and this is just a hunch, I weirdly feel good about Gruden to Arkansas.
I keep hearing it too.
Uh, it's so weird. I feel like it has to happen.
Yeah, it's funny. He's been batted around in two places, right? He's been batted around in college at Arkansas. I've also heard Florida being floated around for Jay Gruden or for John, but he's also still being batted around for the NFL conversation, which is a different show, different topic. But like, I don't know where Gruden's going. Is he just the bourgeois name to just throw out there now? Like, you just want, like, I want to throw out a Gruden for my school. Because if I hear it for Auburn, I might just start crying out of just pity for anybody else. Because there's no way that he ends up at like a school like Auburn. Like, maybe I could see like that happening in Arkansas. I don't know, man.
So he said he wants to coach in the SEC. If he's going to coach anywhere, it's going to be as a head coach. I
Yeah.
don't think he's going to go back to the NFL so soon. He is in the middle of suing them, so I don't know if that's going to happen. It just feels like a weird match made in heaven, and I can't put my finger on it.
I honestly, if I want to put him anywhere, I'd actually go out of the SEC. I know he wants to coach the SEC, but I don't think he would love the SEC as much as he thinks. I think putting him at Penn State would be a very, very interesting hire. I think that would be like one of those like, oh, okay moments. Like, because you don't really put him in a conference with a lot of great coaches and you give him the third, fourth best team in the conference. Like, all right, you got to go beat Signetti, who talks a lot of crap. You talk a lot of crap. Hey, this is a great match. And then you got to go beat up on Ohio State, which just put them in a fourth quarter and it's a close game. They're going to drop the ball somehow just because that's what the head coach there at Ohio State likes to do. And with Michigan, you get to go against a rookie, or well, now he'll be a sophomore next year, quarterback who's 18 years old, and Bryce Underwood. Like, I think Penn State would be a very great hire for him. I know he doesn't want to go outside of the SEC, but if he goes anywhere, I think that would be a great one. Just that'd be very interesting to watch.
That's true. I think he has similar baggage now, depending on how much of that was actually true. That is part of the lawsuit with the NFL. Not true, but was targeted leaks. I do think Bill Belichick at UNC is going to hurt his chances because, and other side, Urban going from college to the NFL, teams will look and go, well, guys have struggled with either back down to college, up to the NFL. Do we trust Gruden to not make the same mistakes? And I'm not talking about dating a 24-year-old.
Yeah, that is the question, right? Like, who's going to be who's going to be the school that puts a risk on somebody like Gruden, who he's a love him or hate him type of guy. And that's always a great question where it's like, you're like, all right, the NFL coach, he's had pedigree in the NFL, doesn't work out. Belichick didn't, but there are coaches that have proven it does work when you step back down. And I don't know if he's the guy that it would work for, but I think there's a great chance that somebody's going to take a chance on him. I like the Arkansas call out because at this point in time, they're just going to throw money at whoever's going to try to solve their problem most. And at one point in time, I'm still kind of expecting Petrino to get the full-time job just because that's Arkansas for you. But yeah, at this point in time, I honestly don't know who's going to be the answers for Gruden. I just feel like it's going to be somebody silly that doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, you're like, oh, that's like the fifth best team in that conference. Okay. Which fits Arkansas. Unfortunately, it might also fit Auburn, and I don't like that at all.
That's fair. But while we're talking about all these coaching changes, what are your thoughts on DJ Durkin and the Auburn Tigers?
I think he fits, man. Durkin is a very interesting coach, right? He's fiery. He's excitable. And I think that's what Auburn needs right now. We've had so many boring coaches Yeah, I hate like Gus was not the most exciting coach, but he was the most lively coach on the sideline for the last 30 years at Auburn, maybe longer. I mean, you can say Chiswick was an exciting coach, but he was only there for what, 4 years. Like, no.
Yeah.
Sorry, Gene, but yeah, I think Durkin's exciting. I think his best chance is to somehow get this team bowl eligible, which it seems impossible right now. I mean, you have to win this week and then go beat Alabama, which good luck. But I think if there's somebody that's going to bring an emotion to this team that needs it, it is Durkin. I think that's a great moment for him. But again, like I said about Auburn earlier, it's like I don't know if for Durkin's future career, if Auburn is the best place for him, because as much as I would love him to stick around, they're ruthless for no reason for coaches. They don't give anybody any chance, and it's because the boosters there run the show, and they throw the millions out to give them these guaranteed contracts, and they'll happily shell out that money if it means that they can hire whoever they want to next. And that's just kind of how it works, unfortunately. But yeah, I don't hate it at all. I think he gives life where life has been kind of drawn out of this team for the last 3 coaches. I thought Hugh Freeze was not a great hire to begin with. He was okay, got great wide receivers, but it was like, what else are you going to do there? Here's a bunch of leftovers. Congratulations. This is what you brought in the portal. Thank you. But yeah, Durkin's, I don't know. He's excitable. I don't know if he's ready to take on an Auburn job. Not that he's not ready as a coach. I just think that Auburn job is very, very needy for a certain type of coach, and I don't know who that coach will be.
Lane Kiffin. That's the kind of coach you want at Auburn.
I would love it, but man, he would there would be, for the first time in the history of college football that I've known about, at least in modern football, there would probably be an assassination attempt on a head coach. Whether it be from an Alabama fan that gets mad because they beat him in the Iron Bowl, or from an Auburn booster for whatever reason.
I want to say an Alabama fan would do that. Yes, they would. They poisoned the entire eastern part of that state's watershed because they put a Cam Newton jersey on a Nick Saban statue. Rest in peace,
with
Harvey
really bad duct tape.
Yeah. No, it's not great. But I mean, SEC, not a day goes by. We get rid of one child murderer, and then we just. I'm not going to finish that thought because I don't want us to get sued. That'd be super fun. But
this is
you
where the
mentioned
beat
the Iron
button
Bowl.
comes into handy.
That's true. I need to get a sound deck, but the problem is I'd be the one beeping myself, so I feel like it would lose its effectiveness. I need to get Ciarnan one for me.
There you go.
But you mentioned the Iron Bowl. That is in 2 weeks. Before we get into that, we're going to do an early Iron Bowl preview. We're going to talk about the Alabama game this weekend. As I do with every time Alabama loses, I'm not going to go on a 20-minute rant again because I don't think there's as much to rant about on this loss versus the Florida State loss. The Florida State loss, that was just top to bottom of the program, an absolute disaster of an attempt at playing football. This loss, I think you can point to a few key things that is the reason why we lost. And I actually don't think it's all coaching this time. I do think coaching, you can make the argument about player readiness, but there's nothing I can point to directly and going, oh, that was a coaching misfire. That was mismanagement by the coaching staff. Now, there were some reports, and by some reports, I mean what Kalen DeBoer said. They were playing for a field goal towards the end. Mm-hmm. Not great. You go for the win when possible, and then you try to get in field goal range, and then what you do, you go for the win. But I do think a lot of it is on Ty Simpson. Early interception clearly rattled him. I understand this is his first season as a starter, but you can't let that happen. And then the interceptions, the fumbles, they just kind of piled up. John Mateer has been injured all year. You cannot let him be moving around on you like that. So, yeah, it was painful. It was not as bad as the Florida State loss, but I think it was more painful because Florida State, by like the second half or the second quarter, I was like, all right, yeah, we're not winning this game. Oklahoma, it felt like we could win the entire game. And then there'd be an interception or a fumble or a missed tackle. And yeah, it's painful to watch.
Yeah. I've loved, first of all, let me say, I've loved what Ty Simpson's done all year. He's been one of my top Heisman candidates all year. This game ruined it for him. And like, he had such a great flow of the how the game worked going into this week. And then it was just like, out of nowhere, he was making mistakes that you don't see from a Ty Simpson. I just talked about Alabama coaches, quarterbacks. This is a Brody Croyle level mistake, not a Ty Simpson level mistake. Like, he just threw the ball into emptiness. And honestly, it's getting away with only one pick in this game is a gift, because early on, I thought he was going to throw 2, maybe even 3 in the game, just based on how erratic he was. He was missing throws that he has not missed all season. Not even like in the Florida State game did he miss any of these throws. And then I think if you're going to point to anything from a coaching issue, he threw the ball 42 times. Out of all the things you have for this team, how do you rely on a kid? Because at the end of the day, these are kids. They're adults, but they're young adults. How do you rely on him to throw it 42 times when he's not getting any help from his running game? Like, that's what bothers me the most. Like, you had Hill come in and give you 60 yards. Jam Miller with only 27 on the day. Like, okay, you can live with that, but there was no chance for Ty Simpson to succeed, it felt like. And the whole playing for a field goal kick, Alabama's always had issues with kickers. I don't know why we're like all of a sudden expecting ourselves to just forget that and think it's a great idea. Alabama does the best when they're trying to put the nail in the coffin. Like, go for the touchdown. That's always what you need to do. And it sucks to see, because honestly, I thought Alabama was going to keep rolling. And talk about DJ Durkin's hopes at Auburn. Like, I was reliant on Alabama coming in with a high and then getting knocked off their horse. That was what I was hoping for. Obviously, now they're going to be angry, right? So, I look at this game like Ryan Williams was one of the best receivers in the country last year. This year, he looks pedestrian. And that also makes me nervous. 3 catches, 45 yards in a game against a top 10 opponent shouldn't happen. I mean, you're the second best receiver in the nation right now, or supposedly, and you look like the 5th string for a Baylor.
He's been the second best receiver on the team all year, 3rd depending on how Horton does throughout the game. I agree with everything you said. The running game needs to get better. It's bad. But I would like to address some Alabama fans. I was very negative about Kalen DeBoer early on in the season. I might have said some things. However, I think he's earned the benefit of the doubt reasonably well so far. And even if you don't agree with that, to say, well, we never had these kicking problems with Saban, DeBoer needs to learn you need a kicker. My brothers in Christ and sisters, we've got to be inclusive here. Alabama, Nick Saban was there for about 15 years, a little bit more, but we'll just say around 15 years. 4 of those. So about a quarter, we had a kicker who was good. He is the SEC all-time points leader for a reason. Will Richard was a good kicker. Everyone else would miss a chip shot at least once a game. This is not a Kalen DeBoer problem. I don't even know if this is exclusively an Alabama problem. This is just a college football problem. Teams always have bad kickers.
Yeah.
Now, it seems to impact Alabama more, and they probably should work on getting a better kicker, but it's going to happen. Now, having your kicker scream at the long snapper as he's hitting 60% of his kicks on the year, it can't happen. That kicker needs to be benched. If he was automatic and that was his one miss, you can't do that, but okay, whatever. The fact that he's missing all these kicks and then trying to show up his teammate, bench him. I don't care. I don't care if you have Ryan Williams try it. That cannot happen.
Yeah. I'm an emotional person. I've been an emotional player in my life before. I showed up a teammate one time on the football field, and it was in Little League. I have never showed up a teammate for the entire rest of my time playing for another 15 years because of that one moment and the sheer chastising, I think is the best way I could put that, the nicest way I could put that, by not just my line coach, but by every other coach and captain on that team. And this is Little League. This is like, dude, these are Pee Wee level kids. Like, We were young, and I still got just blasted. This isn't again, these are young guys, but they're adults. You have one job to do. Did your job get slightly thrown off by 0.21 seconds? Yes. Should you still be able to kick the proper spot of the ball on 2 steps walk up? Absolutely. What are you doing? You want to do this professionally? You're getting paid. Like nowadays, you are getting paid NIL money to play D1 football for Alabama, even as a kicker. Kick the ball. just kick the ball. Don't look like a 4-year-old. Don't look like these guys trying, Pat McAfee's little kick before the game. Like they have better kickers than what for some reason this guy is trying to do. And honestly, I don't even know his name. I tried to look it up earlier and I honestly didn't even Taffy or Talty or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's Talty.
Forget about it. Like pack it up, bring in a new kicker. And I think Alabama, I think the reason why you notice it more with Alabama with bad kickers, every other position for the last 20 years has been not 20, 15 years, 16 years has been a 5-star, a 5-star, a 5-star, a 5-star, a blue chip, a number 10 prospect in the country, number 5 prospect in the country, and they're 3 deep there, for multiple classes. The kicker has he was a walk-on. He was a gray shirt last year. He was he just showed up somehow. He was a former linebacker. Like that's the kickers that Alabama gets where I don't want to say it's an add-on piece, but they're using their scholarships for skill positions. They're using their scholarships for 5 stars. And then they're left with a extra scholarship where we talk about an extension of scholarships. This is where it's going to help at Alabama, where now you can go get that kicker that's a 4-star, 5-star sitting in California, sitting in New Mexico, sitting in Utah that are hitting 60, 70 yarders and for fun in high school. Like you can go bring them in and now succeed. But I think for the longest time for Alabama, it's been like, you're so talented everywhere else. There's one very obvious glaring hole, but like I could sacrifice that hole if I'm still scoring 40 is kind of the way it always looked, or I'm holding the team to 20. So yeah, I mean, it sucks this time. Like this is the moment where it's just really falling off for Alabama, where it's like, it's very obvious, but let's not like blame Kalen DeBoer for this. That's crazy to me. This goes into a booster conversation about like, why are we going to waste a scholarship on kickers? That comes from a booster. I guarantee that nowadays.
Yeah. No, it's insane. And yeah, like you said, it really for Alabama, most of their tenure was, can you hit an extra point, or most of the last 60 years, can you hit an extra point? Cool. Welcome to the team.
Yeah. 17 yards.
I mean,
can you kick it 17 yards? Cool.
And at times it looked like they really couldn't. So I don't know. But moving on to the Iron Bowl, our early Iron Bowl preview in that godforsaken place they call Jordan Hare, where depending on which team you root for, Jesus is either fully with you or he has entirely left the state. Weird shit happens there. The voodoo, Auburn Jesus, whatever you want to call it. Are you excited for the Iron Bowl?
No. I'm excited for what could happen, honestly. I'm just not like, I've been dreading this game all season. And I even told DJ that on our show a couple weeks ago. I am dreading the Iron Bowl, and it has nothing to do with DJ Durkin. It has nothing to do with any of that. I'm tired of losing to Alabama. If nobody knows, it hurts. Like I don't think anybody understands unless you're part of the Alabama-Auburn rivalry and you've lived through being a fan during these runs where teams get on where it's 5 years, 6 years in a row. I remember the Fear the Thumb t-shirt I bought when it was the 5th season in a row that Auburn won. I remember going and fighting for that down at Toomer's Corner to get that t-shirt and how much I loved wearing it around all my Alabama fans. Well, guess what? It comes back at you and it sucks. And I hate it because I'm going to get my phone blown up by it and I don't enjoy it. But no, I think if we look at the game as a whole, I think there's a chance Auburn can do something because there's a lot of great pieces. Yes, I called them leftovers earlier, but that was really in reference to Hugh Freeze's recruiting abilities, not really in reference to their talent. There's a lot of great players. They have one of the best wide receiving cores in the SEC, but they don't know what to do at quarterback. Now, there's a young guy that seems to have figured it out. It's not Jackson Arnold anymore, which fine. I don't mind if it was Jackson. I don't mind if it's anybody else, but somebody has to protect him. And that's where Auburn's missed it for the last, I'd even say if you go back to 2010 in the national championship team, that was not a great offensive line. We were not good offensive line-wise. It's never had a great offensive line. And that's what scares me is because you look at Alabama, they can go go take out a pass rusher. They can shut down the run. And if your offensive line can't hold up for 2 to 3 seconds, you don't give a young guy time to throw the ball. You don't give your read options time to develop. You don't give a bubble screen time to develop. Don't let that offensive lineman get in front for just a halfback slip screen. Like, none of that happens if you can't cover your blocks for 2 to 3 seconds. And that's terrifying to me because I think there's parts of the rest of this team for Auburn that is very good. But that offensive line is just not there. And I think they had a 17-year-old playing quarterback or playing center at some point in time this week or this year, and that's even more terrifying. Like, why am I getting a 17-year-old and not even legal kid to play center?
Receiver is one of those positions. Like, if you're 17, you can make do in the SEC. Yeah. At offensive line at any school, you need those extra years to bulk up and get bigger. But no, I'm also not looking forward to this game. Kind of as I said, weird stuff happens at Jordan-Hare.
There's been construction
I do think on
too,
paper.
so.
Oh, jeez. They need an exorcism is what they need. Weird stuff always happens. I think on paper, Alabama should win.
Yeah.
But the running game's not really that good, and Alabama fans made the joke like, oh, yeah, without the run game, we're still dominating all these teams, and then we couldn't really pass the ball against Oklahoma either, and now that's where it comes back to bite you. So, no, I'm not looking forward to it. This is not going to be fun. Expect weird stuff to happen, and expect me to ruin Thanksgiving for my in-laws with my reactions to what's going on during this game.
Yeah. By the way, shout out DJ Durkin, who just so happened to be a disciple of the great Venables over at Oklahoma. So you might get a couple of the same type of defensive looks, which Ty Simpson figured out later in the game, but not for the first 2 quarters. So just be careful there if you're Alabama fans. But yeah, I think on paper, absolutely should be an Alabama win. But the Auburn fan in me, the Auburn alum, is like, no, War Eagle. Bring out the ghost.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna watch the game and yeah. So we said we were gonna talk about the college football playoff rankings. They haven't come out yet, so I'm not sure what we're gonna do. By the way, that'll be fun.
They're supposed to be out like at 8:30. Yeah,
8:30 to 9. Like, we're not gonna stay on until 9, probably,
maybe.
But so we might just not even do the rankings this week. But moving on to a different conference now after we've talked about the SEC ad nauseum. Mike Locksley at Maryland. The AD has promised he will return in 2026 and spend more money on talent acquisition. I think this is the right move. I do think Mike Locksley is a good coach. I think it has been largely a talent issue in the Big Ten, and it's gross that Maryland's in the Big Ten. I say that every time we talk about them. What'd you think about Mike Locksley getting the thumbs up from the AD?
I'm not comfortable with it. A 1-6 team, I have questions about them, right? Always. But they're a team that's been competitive all year. It's not like they're just a washout team. It's not like they're getting blown out 42-0 every game. There's been some bad ones. Let's not kid ourselves. But they are a competitive team on paper, and I think that's what keeps Locksley around. Again, you talk about a culture. Maryland football, since like Vernon Davis, has not had a culture. It's been a long time since Under Armour was first founded in Baltimore, Maryland, and became a Maryland University sponsor for the jerseys. It has been a long time since Maryland really had a culture there. Even Stephon Diggs' era didn't have a culture really in Maryland football. And I think what Locksley's doing. Am I back?
Yes. Yes.
All right, there we go. So what Locksley's doing is trying to build that culture. And I feel like every time we talk about a new team, new coach, or coach sticking around, it's always culture. But like, he's trying to build something in a school that has never had it. When you talk about Maryland, you always talk about the DMV. You don't really ever talk about a specific place within Maryland. And I think that's what lacks Maryland's identity. That's why they always have the flags on their helmets. That's why they always have a very Maryland theme with everything, is because they're trying to build an identity. I think Locksley's bringing that identity. Talked about James Franklin recruiting in that region. Well, now he's going to have competition with Locksley, who has been bringing recruits. You know, Talia Tagovailoa, maybe he wasn't the best quarterback, but that was a huge recruit to come into Maryland at any point in time. And since then, Locksley came in, and now he's like, oh, I can build on that, guys. Hang on. let me show you something. And so while he didn't recruit Talia, it was like one of those things that he used that to build momentum for the future. And I think that's what Locksley's still sticking around for. So I don't hate him sticking around, but I don't love the idea of a 1-6 coach getting a guarantee rubber stamp for coming in the next year. It feels like maybe show me you have some heart in these last few games. And sorry, it's 1-6 in conference.
It's still not great. And 39-73 overall.
Yeah.
Also not very good. But you mentioned Talia, and he leads, I think, most of their passing records.
Yeah.
Most career and single season passing yards. Single game, he's number 3 behind Scott Milanovich. Also, by the way, Talia is 3 of the top 5 most passing yards in the season. Most passing touchdowns in a career, 2 and 3, and tied for 7th in most passing touchdowns in the season. So huge get for Mike Locksley, and he can get talent. So I'm not against him getting the seal of approval, but I do think it's interesting. He said 2026, not we have full faith in Mike.
Yeah, that was very like, oh, hold on. So you are putting a timeline on this moment, but it still feels weird, right? Like 4-6 overall, 1-6 in conference. I don't know. I'm not sold on the whole idea of it, but I don't hate it. Again, it's a weird position because it's like it's Maryland's. When you talk tiers of teams in a conference, you're in the Big Ten. Maryland doesn't really belong there. They belong in like the American Conference or the ACC. Take your pick. I don't just get them out of the Big Ten. And then even then, like you're a mid-tier to below low tier. Like you're not low tier, but you're like that mid-low level tier. It just feels it feels very weird to be like, man, you shouldn't bring back a coach that's 4-6 this year and what do you say, 36-70 something overall. Like feels like you should bring him back. But like, who are you going to bring in if you get rid of Locksley, who has built a camaraderie? Like I said, he's building a culture in Maryland. Kids are relating to him. He's a guy that kids can relate to come in. And in the world of NIL, when you're not a top tier team, these things matter. And it's like, but it also, again, I keep fighting with myself as I'm saying the words. I'm like, but he's so terrible. He's like, he has a losing record. Like something has to give here.
I've been big on schools knowing their place and knowing what tier of coach they can get. I really started talking about this a lot before the bad stuff started happening. Mel Tucker at Michigan State, when they gave him that big contract, and Ciarnan, a lot of people are like, well, why would you give, like, Mel Tucker's not that great. Well, it's Michigan State. Like, what? That's really probably the best they can do right now. And then everything else happened. I was like, that was a bad idea to give him that contract, knowing what we know. But so it's a move. It'll be interesting how that plays out. Like I said a minute ago, CFP playoff rankings, they're not out yet. I don't feel like rambling for another half hour just trying to fill air. So we're not going to talk about rankings at all. I think people have gotten their money's worth, and we still have more topics to get to.
By the way, if anybody does need a coach, go look at Tulane and or go look at Clark Lee at Vanderbilt. Try to buy one of those two if anybody wants a coach.
I think LSU needs to, I've said this multiple times in the show, they need to just lock Summerall into a room and just give him a blank check and be like, whatever it takes.
Yeah. I mean, he's out-recruited LSU in his own home state, like in Louisiana. Like, come on. What?
Yeah. They need to bring him in and get him on their sidelines. It's the only logical thing. But moving on to our bets. Last week, I did really well. Jared did not. I had BYU over TCU, which hit. I had New Mexico State plus 40.5 versus Tennessee. They only lost by 39. So that was a hit. And I say this every week. If you see a spread, you're like, that's crazy. Take the underdog to cover. It's tough to hit that score. Then I had Haynes King anytime touchdown. The only game this year he did not score a touchdown. Jared had Alabama over Oklahoma. He had Texas plus 6 versus Georgia and Miami over NC State. That Miami one was the only one that hit. Moving on to Ciarnan's weather report hosted by Kev. Ciarnan will be back next week to do this. Looks like a lot of rain in the south, so be wary of that. Florida, Arkansas, everything in between. And other than that, it's not crazy. Not too much bad weather. Again, really just the American Southeast. And no snow yet, really. Which, thank God. I hate the snow.
Oh, I loved it. I love playing it. I love watching football in it. As long as I'm not the one sitting in the stands, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I hate being in the snow.
Yeah. Like
Also rain in Ohio.
Yeah, there is actually it might turn into flurries. So fair warning for Columbus, it might turn into some snow flurries.
Nope. Oh, I didn't mean to close that. Nope. Hate it. Hate snow. I don't like cold rain either, but I'd rather deal with rain than snow.
One of the most fun football games I ever played was in Utah, and it was in a foot of snow. And I've never had so much fun in my life. Other than the fact I couldn't feel my hands. That was the only bad.
Yeah.
But after the first 5 minutes, who cared?
I'm going to school in the South. You quickly realize a lot of people from the South love the idea of snow, even though none of them know how to drive in it. And they don't know the pain of getting 100 feet of snow in one winter.
Yeah, no, they don't understand it. I was lucky. I grew up outside of the South before I moved to the South when I was 13. So I understood the snowfall before I moved there.
I grew up in the Northeast and ran to the South for college. I was like, nope, can't do it. But moving on to our week 12 bets. Yeah, I have it wrong on the sheet. It's week 12 in college football. Starting us off with my money line, I have Georgia Tech over Pitt at -128. I think Georgia Tech's had a really good year. Pitt's been fine, but they did just get blown out by Notre Dame. So I kind of expect to see more of the same. Kelcey, what do you got for your money line?
Yeah, I got Louisville over SMU at SMU. It's going to be +114. Number 20 Louisville against unranked SMU. I know there's been problems with rankings all year, but like, has anybody watched Louisville play? It feels very, very underrated that they're being the underdog here against SMU, who I am a big fan of, but a bigger fan of what Louisville is doing right now.
That's fair. Who you got for your spread?
Spread, I got Texas covering the 8.5-point spread over Arkansas. 8.5 against this Arkansas team feels very low. Feels like somebody was like, I'm going to favor Arkansas and Petrino for whatever reason, even though I don't know if they'd really deserve it. But yeah, give me Texas -8.5, who's been playing better as of late. And I think that's an important part of this.
That's fair. My spread, I have, like I said, if you see a crazy spread and you're not sure, just take the underdog. I have Syracuse +35.5 versus Notre Dame.
I like it.
For no reason other than the fact Syracuse is not a complete joke, and that's a crazy high spread. So I like that. And then my miscellaneous, Ohio State has only allowed more than 10 points in like 2 games this year. So I have Rutgers under 9.5 versus Ohio State for my miscellaneous. Like Kelcey, what do you got?
I'm actually going with one you've already said. Georgia Tech over Pitt at -128 odds for just money line victory. Like that again feels egregiously like, all right, I'll take free money back, I guess. I'll take my bet back. Like, all right, that's fine with me. Yeah,
I mean, Pat Narduzzi said last week that they could lose to Notre Dame by 100, and by God, did he try his hardest to hit that. He just got to win the next 2, so let's see if he can fulfill the prophecy. So, quick recap. My money line, I have Georgia Tech over Pitt. My spread, I have Syracuse +35.5 versus Notre Dame. My miscellaneous, I have Rutgers under 9.5 points versus Ohio State. Kelcey has Louisville at SMU, or over SMU, excuse me, for his money line. He has Texas -8.5 versus Arkansas versus spread, and his miscellaneous is my money line, Georgia Tech over Pitt at -128. And now, it's time for America's favorite segment, Luke Fickell's shopping list, where I take Luke Fickell's buyout and I find things he could buy with it. Not actually buy all of it, but who knows? So let's see. $25 million, remember, that is his buyout. He could buy about 3 Wrigley Fields based on construction costs. It was $250,000 in 1911, which adjusted for inflation is $8.525 million in 2025. So that math equals about 3 Wrigley Fields.
So you don't get the lights with Wrigley Field Row, right?
No. No,
Okay.
that's an
So
add-on that comes after the fact.
That's the perfect Wrigley Field, though. You still get the Ivy, you still get everything else. That's fine for $25 million.
Yeah, and then and you get 3 of them, so
Yeah.
it's a steal. He's losing money by not building 3 Wrigley Fields. Then you could buy 736,377 14-inch deep dish pizzas from Bartoli's in Chicago. Regularly wins best pizza in Chicago. Scottie Pippen's first stint with the Bulls, he could buy his entire salary at $22,275,000. Sticking with the Bulls, they're playing Illinois this week. That's why they're all Chicago-based. He could buy Michael Jordan's first 11 years with the Bulls. That came out to about $24 million. And then for year one of the first three-peat, it went up to $30 million. So first 11 years with the Bulls, he could buy. 2.5 days of the Civil War. Abraham Lincoln is from Illinois. In today's dollars, $14.6 billion was spent throughout the war. That is 4 years, 365 days a year, except one leap year because it was 4. So that equals about 2.5 days of Civil War fighting. You could pay Al Capone's tax bill 5 times. It was $200,000 in 1931, which comes out to $4,262,842.11 in 2025. And he could still have $3,384,201 left over. Another food one, 3,846,153 Chicago-style hot dogs. They're about $6 to $7. So I just went with $6.50. One Chicago bean. The bean in Chicago cost $25 million to build. It's so stupid it costs that much, but Luke Fickell could buy one. And then finally, John Deere, the tractor company was founded in Illinois. He could buy 8,623 John Deere riding mowers.
Wow.
I really need to start making a graphic for this, but
I'll say he could also, just for the fun of it, because I saw this one and I didn't hear you say it, he could also pay the $25 million that the Bears are paying the city of Chicago for a proposed stadium move.
That's true. He could help give some money back to maybe the school that's going to get him fired or the state that's going to get him fired. Now, before we get out of here and we do sign-offs for Kelcey and all that, Ciarnan did send me a proof of life video that I meant to include at the beginning and I forgot. So we're going to play that now. And we're going to hear Ciarnan's thoughts on his former coach going to Virginia Tech.
Don't worry, folks. I'm not going to let my own honeymoon stop me from recording this about James Franklin going to the Hokies. So to say this, congratulations, James Franklin, on the head coaching job at Virginia Tech. I think this is a huge move for Virginia Tech. I don't necessarily think it's a step down. It's more of a step laterally, maybe slightly down for James Franklin, but that is only because of Penn State's historic reputation. And I'm not talking about the reputation while he was there, just as a mere fact of Penn State is considered a notable school. Whether we can win anything, remains to be seen. But let's not dwell on that. For Virginia Tech, this is a huge steal. This is a great coach that can absolutely get them to the top of the ACC in 3 years' time. Fresh recruiting class from the DMV area of the United States, where Franklin recruited heavily out of. It's going to do wonders for Virginia Tech. That I've made my mark. I've said 3 years' time you will see Virginia Tech towards the top of the ACC. Mark my words. Whether they make it into the college playoff, that will remain to be seen. But as a program, Virginia Tech really doesn't need it. They don't need that sort of credibility to have a great coach. If he produces 75% of how he produced in Penn State, James Franklin will be one of their best coaching hires ever. Plain and simple. I am both hurt and happy to see him go. I was negative on him, but that's only because he couldn't win the big game for us, and it was crushing because he was great. He was genuinely a great coach. So sad to see him go. Great that he landed somewhere fairly close. What comes of it will remain to be seen, but I will say this again, top of the ACC in 3 years' time.
I'm very upset at myself for not remembering to play that at the beginning.
That's fair.
Not great, but it's fine. We got
Seems
it.
like he's having
and
fun.
That's true. I hope he is, but he will be back next week. Hopefully, I'm planning on him being back. Hopefully, nothing goes wrong that prevents that. But yeah, catch us next week. We'll be going back to our regularly scheduled programming on releasing Wednesday or Thursday morning, instead of Wednesday at midnight. So, Kelcey, where can people find you, and where can they watch your show?
Yeah, you can find me over there with DJ if you guys have seen him on this show many a times, or a few times, I should say. But you can find us at high_low_sports. Okay, only once. Fine, Kev. Over on Twitter and at high-low sports on everything else. We go live on the Belly Up YouTube page, or not on the live on the YouTube page. We release our show on the YouTube page every Thursday morning, basically right before you guys do. But we go live every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time on our social medias as well as the Belly Up Twitter page. So be sure to check us out there. If you guys have any questions, we cover all things sports, whether it be college football, MMA, baseball, basketball, you name it. Right now, we're heavy into football, obviously, like everybody else in the world who has a sort of sports brain. So that's what we're talking about. But yeah, no, come check us out. I've always, love talking a little football and love every time I get to come on Tailgate.
Yeah, I mean, earlier in the season, you said you'd only been on once before. Now we've already tripled that.
Yeah,
So,
and I even gave you a couple quotes too when we talked about predictions going into it, and I feel really good about the quote I told you where I'm like, yeah, they can forget about even being playoff bound or bowl bound for Auburn, and I feel really good about that quote now.
that was a good call.
Hurts though.
Hopefully, Alabama doesn't prove you wrong for both your prediction's sake, but also my mental health. You can find us, as always, at Quad Tailgate. You can find me at Belly Up Kev across socials. I would like to say thank you to Kelcey and DJ and Jared for the past 3 weeks for coming on, allowing Ciarnan to enjoy his wedding, his honeymoon, and allowing me to still put out a show. Because I hate single-person podcasts. I can listen to them. I hate recording them. I feel like I'm lecturing.
Amen, brother. You don't have to tell me. I can talk to a wall, but talking to myself is not what I enjoy doing.
No, it's awful. But thank you, everyone, for stopping by. Be sure to follow High-Low Sports and check them out. It's always a great time. Follow them, follow me, follow us, and follow Belly Up Sports. We are pumping out content this football season. I basically glued to my phone Saturdays and Sundays to post things. My wife is not happy with it sometimes, but you got to do what you got to do. So follow Belly Up Sports, put out content, or they put out content. It's great. And yeah, everyone have a good, safe, fun weekend. Make good choices. Don't drink too much. And if you do, don't drive. They're eating the dogs, Ciarnan, in Tuscaloosa.
They're eating the
You know
dogs.
that?
They were
They're
eating the
the
dogs.
dogs.
Oh, a meth raccoon.
Yeah.
Just awful. There is nothing good about this. It's the worst possible scenario for the CFP, for the national championship.
Notre Dame is a mid-program with really good marketing.
And the Michigan players are going to look at that, and anybody who's committing to Michigan in the next years will just go, I want to beat them even more. Like, I wanted to beat them when I first came to the school. Recruits are going to see this.
You have, as some fans have put it, a mascot flashing their pop tussie out.
Oh, God, that's going to be part of our intro next year. Oh, shit.